I signed every form, hit every target, kept every promise. Then my marriage ended and the house went quiet. At 50, I moved out with 3 boxes and a crooked shelf. What I learned next set me free. 7 lies I had carried for decades. If you're over 50 and tired of asking for permission to live, this is your video. Tell me which lie shows up first in your life. And stay to the end for what to do tonight. Freedom started small. In one daily question, that question became a ritual. I pour coffee. I write one line on a sticky note. No permission slips. No committee. Just a man practicing being responsive. Able to respond to his own values. Not only to the next notification. That is where my unlearning began. I used to answer the question, who are you with a job title and a department? Operations manager. Logistics. Provider. It sounded solid. It felt empty. The night my son told me he could cover next semester without my help. Pride and panic arrived in the same breath. If no one needed my wallet, did anyone still need me? I sat with that fear until it softened into a different truth. I am not a role. I am a person. On a Saturday, I drove to the river trail that cuts behind the old mill. I parked under a cottonwood. I carried a camera I had not touched since the kids were in grade school. I let myself walk without a destination. I listened to gravel under my shoes. I watched a heron lift from the reeds. I noticed light on the water. I took a photo that no one had asked me to take. It was not useful. It was mine. For the first time in a long time, I felt present. Not productive. That shift bled into other rooms. At work, I stopped racing to fill silence with promises. I asked for a day to think, and then I used the day to think. I answered late only when late was honest. At home, I told my ex-wife the truth I had avoided. I choose peacefulness when it is honest. I will not choose peacekeeping when it is a performance. It was not a speech. It was a sentence said with a spine and a heart. If any part of this sounds like your life, stay with me until the end. I am going to walk you through the illusions I had to release to live free, folded into the story of how I rebuilt after 50. Leave a note in the comments if a line lands. Someone else may need it today. In those days, I lived by clocks and gates. Work hard. Follow the map. Wait your turn. The truth is less romantic and more useful. Systems reward predictability. They are not designed to deliver meaning. Meaning is a job you do from the inside out. No one will assign it to you. So I set a small assignment for myself. Before opening email, I answer the one line. What matters to me today? Some mornings it is call my daughter and ask about her block and her new coffee shop. Some days it is ride the bike for 40 minutes and sweat out the static. Other days it is say no to a project that pays well but costs something I can no longer spend. My weekends. My attention. My peace. I started to notice other places where I had been living as a role instead of a person. At church I shook hands and said, all is well, when it was not. At the hardware store I bought the wrong size screws and nodded as if that were fine. On the phone with my sister I dodged a question because the real answer felt messy. Each dodge took a toll. I could pay it when I was 28. At 55 the interest rate was higher. I needed a different currency. On a Tuesday my boss asked if I could fly out for a client that always ran late and always added Saturday. I felt the old reflex rise. I heard the word sure in my throat. I paused. I looked at the sticky note on my desk. It said dinner with Ben. I answered with a clean no. I offered Monday and Tuesday the following week with a clear agenda. He said fine. No thunder fell. The sky did not open. I drove to Ben's apartment and we ate tacos on paper plates and talked about his first apartment without roommates. I slept well that night. This is how the story begins. Not with a grand gesture, with a man in a garage. Learning to stop asking for permission to live his own life. With a phone on, do not disturb for 1 hour while he listens for his own voice. With a pen and a single line that redeems a day, I can trace the story back to a bell in my first warehouse job. A loud ring at 6 meant start. A softer ring at 10 meant break. Another ring at noon meant eat fast and get back. I loved the certainty then. It let me climb without looking down. It also taught me to wait for a signal before I moved. By 55, I had become excellent at waiting. Waiting for permission. Waiting for a green light from people who were not thinking about my life at all. The bell had moved inside my head. I decided to retire it. No ceremony. Just silence where the ring used to be. In that quiet, I could hear myself again. On a Thursday night a few years back, we were at a quiet restaurant near the highway. Candle on the table. Steam rising from a bowl of chowder. A small disagreement about how much I traveled turned into that old dance. I nodded. I softened. I tried to be easy to love. I kept the peace by leaving parts of myself outside the door. On the drive home, I saw a missed call from my son. His message was short. Hey, call me if you are up. No emergency. No big news. Just his voice. And a chance I had traded for a smooth evening. I told myself I was being mature. What I was being was avoidant. Harmony that requires hiding is not harmony. It is a theater. I began to practice a different kind of honesty. Not the kind that uses volume. The kind that uses clarity. I love you, and this is not working for me. 10 words. A whole new corridor opened. Sometimes the conversation got loud. Sometimes we both needed a walk, but something surprising happened. Respect grew where resentment used to live. Trust sprouted where performance had been taking root. That honesty did not make me less kind. It made me more present. I stopped over-explaining. I stopped apologizing for having boundaries. I learned that intimacy is two whole people choosing each other, not two halves trying to merge. When I showed up as a person, not a diplomat. My relationship stopped feeling like negotiations and started feeling like places to tell the truth. The other shift arrived where I counted the score. I had chased titles and upgrades the way a runner chases mile splits. I could make the case for every promotion. I could not make the case for why my chest felt tight at bedtime. Achievement is a measurement that lives outside of you. Alignment is a measurement that lives inside of you. When I changed the ruler, the numbers changed. I set a quiet rule. If a choice pulls me out of integrity, I do not call it a win. If a choice keeps faith with what I value, I can live with the trade-offs. This sounds simple. It was not simple at first. Years of muscle memory pointed me toward approval. I messed up. I said yes when I meant no. I caught it. I corrected it. Reps build strength. The same is true for a life. On a cold morning by the river, I finally understood the next truth. Fulfillment is not acquired. It is aligned. I snapped a photo of a stray dog watching the water. A fisherman waved from the bank. I rode home slowly. I made eggs. I sent the photo to my daughter with a note. Tell me 3 things you love about your new neighborhood. Her reply came back before the pan cooled. For the first time in months, I felt the click of a real day. There is another part we do not mention enough. Men my age are taught to manage emotions like a thermostat. Lower the heat. Smooth the spikes. Smile when you want to speak. That habit can keep a room calm. It cannot keep a soul honest. When you avoid hard talks to maintain comfort, you build a house with thin walls. The first storm will shake it apart. I learned to risk a difficult hour to save a decade. I learned that disagreeing is not the opposite of loving. It is one way love grows up. One evening after the divorce, we met to divide books. It should have been simple. It was not. We stood in a hallway with a cardboard box between us and spoke like polite strangers. I felt the old urge to apologize for wanting anything. I almost said take all the novels. Instead, I said I would like to keep the ones with notes in the margins. They are a record of who I was when I did not know better. She nodded. We both breathed. It was a small thing that did not feel small. Money has a way of testing resolve. The year after I left the big job, an old contact called with a contract that could double my income. The work was familiar. The timeline was brutal. I wrote numbers on a legal pad. I pictured a newer car and a bigger television. I pictured 3 months of Sundays lost to status calls. I pictured my son alone at the ball field while I promised next week. I turned it down and felt foolish for an hour. I felt free for a week. There is a moment in every change when you want to go back to what is easy to explain. Friends ask what you do now. You give a long answer because you are still building a short one. Be patient with that season. Let your answer be honest, even if it feels unfinished. The day I first said I would consult part-time and coach, I watched my friend tilt his head. Then he smiled. You might be wondering if the window has closed. If big changes belong to younger men. I wondered the same thing. Then life answered with a clean break. A marriage ended with sincere wishes. A house was sold without a fight. The map I had been handed did not fit the road ahead. So I drew a smaller map that I could actually follow. One value at a time. One honest sentence at a time. One morning at a time. If this meets you where you are, say so in the comments. You are not the only one doing this math in midlife. If you can, like the video, so it finds another man who needs it. Stay with me for the turn. The best part of the story is next. I moved out at 50 with 3 boxes and a chair that did not match anything. The first night I ate takeout on the floor and used the lid as a plate. The second night the shower would not get warm. On the third night I laughed. A real laugh. When the shelf I was installing leaned 6 degrees to the left and refused my corrections. I had spent decades fixing systems for other people. Surely I could learn to rebuild my own. That was the turning point. Not a heroic sunrise. A crooked shelf in a quiet room. I realized I was not starting from zero. I was starting from experience. I knew what drains my energy and what renews it. I knew what honesty costs and what avoidance costs. I knew how it feels when my actions match my values. I knew the sound of my own yes and the sound of my own no. From there I chose smaller and truer. Consulting part-time instead of racing back to the ladder. Coaching at the local Little League, because boys need men who listen more than they lecture. Saying no to a lucrative project that would take my weekends and give me nothing I want to keep. Saying yes to dinner with my kids, even when the calendar says catch up on paperwork. Every trade wrote a new line and a new map. The map had only a few roads. Family. Health. Work that does not steal my soul. A practice that keeps me awake to my life. People ask about masculinity now, as if it were a problem to solve. I have seen the performance. The puffed chest. The volume. I have also seen men who shrink themselves out of the frame and call it virtue. I do not want either costume. I want a spine and a heart in the same body. I want to protect without controlling. I want to lead without needing to be obeyed. I want to stand my ground because I know who I am. Not because someone is watching. That kind of strength is not loud. It is consistent. It shows up. It keeps promises that matter. It refuses promises that violate the person who must keep them. It does not apologize for existing. It does not dominate the room. It fills its own feet. If you build that kind of presence, people feel it. You feel it. You do not need to prove anything. You are too busy living it. There are other changes that sound minor on paper and feel major in practice. I started cooking on Sundays and packing lunches like a kid. I started lifting light weights in the garage with a radio that plays old songs. I started calling my mother on Wednesdays and letting the conversation wander. I cleaned the trunk of my car and put a blanket there for ball games. I put a book by the couch and kept the charger in another room. The first week felt forced. By the third week, I could feel my nervous system. Believe me when I said we are safe now. At the Little League field, I watch boys learn in real time what it took me decades to name. One freezes after a mistake and stares at his shoes. Another pounds his glove and looks for someone to blame. We breathe together behind the dugout. We talk about how courage is a location, not a feeling. Stand on the spot where the next pitch will come. Do the next right thing and let the scoreboard be slow to notice. Their parents thank me for the wins. I am more proud of the at-bats that ended in outs when the boys stayed present. Aging brings new negotiations with the body. My shoulder clicks when I lift too fast. My knee argues with stairs if I ignore sleep. I used to hide that. Now I call it feedback. I train smarter. I stretch while the coffee drips. I walk while on calls instead of sitting still for hours. They are proof that I plan to be a good ancestor to the man I will be at 70. Sometimes I still feel the old shame when I take up space. A meeting goes quiet when I say no. A friend jokes that I have changed. I am no longer trying to be pleasant at the cost of being real. When that discomfort rises, I place my feet flat and breathe from my ribs. I remember that masculinity without compassion is brittle, and compassion without a spine collapses. Here is how I end my days now. 3 minutes in a chair by the window. 1 line on paper. Tomorrow I will do one small thing that honors my highest value. Sometimes it is as simple as call my son before his shift. Sometimes it is ride the bike no matter the weather. Sometimes it is make a hard phone call and tell the truth without armor. I sleep better when I keep that promise to myself. Not because the world rewards it, because my own body does. If you want a place to start, borrow my first morning ritual. Before you check a screen, answer in ink. What matters to me today? Give yourself one action that fits the answer. Do it even if no one notices. Especially if no one notices. That is how freedom feels. Not like applause. Like alignment. I began this story in a garage with a question. Where is my freedom in all this compliance? I ended here with a different question. What are you willing to unlearn so that your life can finally fit your values? Leave one sentence below. Name one belief you will set down this week. Subscribe if you want a simple 7-day alignment challenge next week. We will build it step by step. And you will not do it alone. Thank you for listening.